All right, peace and blessings. This is your brother Gabar, and this is I Am Fit Podcast. Are you fit to go God's way? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Thank you for allowing me into your living room. You know, I just noticed my shirt's a little wrinkled, huh? It's like, oh, I had a fight with the iron board and I lost. Thank you for allowing me to come into your living room. Thank you. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe so we can get this algorithm going because I may be throwing out I may be jumping out the window today having a discussion about this matter, but I think it needs to be had. Because now more than ever before, information cannot be controlled. This is like a reminder. This when we hear about when there was a debate or there was a censoring of reading the Bible in Europe, that the Roman Catholic Church only allowed it to be translated in Spanish, Latin, and only the priest could read it, and they'll be the only one that could interpret it. And then there was a split between the Church of England or the people of England and Rome, and they kind of started their own church, began to publicize their own book, and there was some conflict there. But once the publishing or the printing press became a thing, it just became an impossible uh thing to control, right? So I want to shout out Shalom. I believe Sister Jane Small, Shalom, sister, blessings. Sister Taya, I got your email. I hope I also respond to you. So I will be doing a lesson on that this particular Shabbat because I think you asked a correct question, and thank you for your support, sisters and brothers out there. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. So going back to the printing press, when the printing press was created, they could not stop. It was too fast. It was too rapid to produce massive books. Stop, in a rapid pace. Prior to that, it was you have to copy by hand. I feel that the internet is the printing press of 2025, of this era, because information, although sometimes is not correct, is rapid all over the place in regards of what's going on in government and religion and society. We could know what's going on in the other part of the world instantly, right? With a kid, with a camera, just showing, look, this is what happened over here in this part of the world, and look what happened over here in this part of the world. Is an exciting time to be around. So let's have a conversation, right? Because I want to have a conversation. Oh, sorry. I want to have a conversation about uh, a very sensitive topic. Because now things that were only in the conspiracy theory realm back when I was coming up, back in the days when I was coming up, the number one conspiracy guy was Alex Jones, right? Automatically, oh, you listen to that guy, right? Um, William Cooper, Beheld a Pale Horse, and other like him, that were always these beaten path type of personality that talks about the government has a secret cabal, a global control, global family. We had the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and this people and that people and so forth, so on. And it was never mainstream. It was always dismissed as conspiracy theory. And one of the things that was part of that is that the Jewish cabal, right? That the Jewish people control the world, control the media, control Hollywood and so forth, so on. Now, at this point, it's no longer conspiracy theory, right? I mean, in regards, I won't say control, but have a great influence in that realm, right? I mean, Jewish people are very smart and intelligent individuals. Their IQ is up to the wazoo, and they're very good in managing and pinpointing what needs to be done in regards of success for themselves and their family. So kudos to them. But I want to have a conversation because as a 52-year-old man, I'm going to be 53 in a few months. All my life, there was like no doubt that people like Hitler, they were evil, right? They were racist against blacks. They were racist against Jewish people. They were racist, obviously, against Hispanics. And shout out to mi hermanos y mi hermana in the Latino community. Shout out to you guys. There was never a question that Hitler was not definitely a racist against all, all people that were not German. We all hear the story about Jesse Owens, the track runner that when the Olympics, he was competing against Germany, and he beat, everybody. That the Germans were pissed off, and Germans were racist against black. But Jesse Owens, out of his own words, stated that no, Germany, they treat me well. They stop me and shake my hand. Congratulations. This was something that I automatically took as fact. I didn't question it. So now what's happening, and I want to have a conversation about not only that, but also, everybody saw the thumbnail, right? And we're gonna go into the thumbnail and what we're gonna be talking about today in particular. So this is an article, or in Donald Trump, when he first ran, he wasn't, in Twitter and TikTok and all these other social media, and he eventually got kicked out of all of them, or mostly all of them. He decided to kind of start out his own kind of social media called Truth Social. And it's basically his clever way, I think, for him to reach out to the audience directly, from him to the audience, to his constituencies, to his American fellow Americans, and so forth, so on, right? So I stumble into this, and this is a Jeffrey, what's his name? He's a Jeffrey Sach. Jeffrey Davis Sach is an American economics and public policy analysis who is a professor in Columbia University. And he's been very critical on what Trump is doing in regards of, not Trump is doing, what this government has doing, particularly the Biden administration and the Barack Obama. So in this particular video that came directly from Donald Trump Truth Social account. Matter of fact, let me do this. Let me get out of here to show you guys that I am literally in Truth Social, right? This is the Truth Social channel. This is Donald Trump's channel here. Let me post this, make this a little bigger here for you guys to see it, right? This is definitely his channel, right? It's confirmed. It got the check mark. This is definitely coming from his Truth Social social media. And I want to scroll down because I want to focus specifically on this particular video that he was promoting. And he's talking, this economic analysis professor is having a conversation about the CIA and how they, specifically Barack Obama, how he was involved in overthrowing the Assyrian government. That government, or specifically United States government, is been always involved with overthrowing government. And what is profound, I think, is that now we have a sitting president confirming that Americans have done this in the past in his channel and promoting and saying, yes, this is what the left is doing, right? Prior to that, right? If anybody would have said, governments, overthrow, countries, well, you're not supposed to do that. We don't know, maybe, and so for someone, because it was always understood that that was illegal, right? You can't do that. One country cannot overthrow another country. That's a coup. That's illegal. That's international violation of international laws, right? But now it's being talked about. But I want to also have a conversation on what else he talked about, right? So I want to play this particular video. It's 2 minutes and 13 seconds long. Fair use.
The war in Syria, and you may actually hear from grown-up reporters who are lying through their teeth or ignorant beyond imagining that, oh, the war in Syria, yes, Russia intervened in Syria. Well, do you know that that Obama tasked the CIA to overthrow the Syrian government starting 4 years before Russia intervened? What kind of nonsense is that? And how many times did the New York Times report on Operation Timber Sycamore, which was the presidential order to the CIA to overthrow Bashar al-Assad? 3 times in 10 years. This is not democracy. This is a game. And it's a game of narrative. Why did the U.S. invade Iraq in 2003?
Pay attention. Why did the United States invade Iraq in 2023? Like I said, I'm throwing myself out the window with this show today because what I'm going to bring out, and this was out there in the ether, it was out there in the social media world. I'm not taking one stand one way or the other. I'm just reporting the news, ladies and gentlemen, right? So just pay attention, fair use.
Well, first of all, it was completely phony pretenses. It wasn't, oh, we were so wrong, they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. They actually did focus groups in the fall of 2002 to find out what would sell that war to the American people. Abe Shulsky, if you want to know the name of the PR genius.
This guy has receipts, and this particular video is posted on Donald Trump's Truth Social. Just pause that for a minute. Just analyze that for a minute. This guy is claiming that there was focus groups before 9/11, before they went to Iraq, right? Now, the question that I'm asking, how can they have a focus group on an event that there is no way in God's green earth they would know it would happen? The 9/11 event, right? That was unexpected. We didn't know that was happening, or did we? Let's have a conversation.
Yes. They did focus groups on the war. They wanted the war all the time. They had to figure out how to sell the war to the American people, how to scare the shit out of the American people. It was a phony war. Where did that war come from? You know what? It's quite surprising. That war came from Netanyahu, actually. You know?
Netanyahu, pay attention.
That it's weird. And the way it is that Netanyahu had from 1995 onward the theory that the only way we're going to get rid of Hamas and Hezbollah is by toppling the governments that support them. That's Iraq, Syria, and Iran. And the guy's nothing if not obsessive. And he's still trying to get us to fight Iran this day, this week. He's a deep, dark son of a bitch, sorry to tell you, because he's gotten us into endless wars, and because of the power of all of this in the U.S. politics, he's gotten his way. But that war was
He's talking about the Jewish lobbyists, the Zionist lobbyists, not the Jewish lobbyists, the Zionist lobbyists. And we have to be specific because not all Jewish people are Zionists, and not all Zionist people are Jewish, right? Then Joe Biden said he's a Zionist. He's not Jewish that I know of, right? So the Zionist mindset is what is the most dangerous mindset in today's time. Let me repeat that again. The Zionist mindset, this whole idea that the Jewish people need to go back to their homeland, is Pacific is one of the number one thing that may usher in War III. And what we need to know in regards to, within the Christian Bible believing community, in regards how is that going to affect us, right? Because Israel, the homeland, that's all based on biblical history, right? So we need to unpack this a little more. Let's continue watching.
Totally phony. So what is this democracy versus dictatorship? Come on. These are not even sensible terms.
So these are not even sensible terms, what this gentleman is saying. So let's unpack some more. Because I'm not supporting this. I'm not saying this is true. All I'm saying is there should be a conversation in regards of what this individual just said. And more importantly, we should have a conversation about what this rabbi said. 9/11 rabbi admits. Now, is this guy telling the truth? I don't know. Is he a liar? I don't know. Is he a real rabbi? I don't know. I believe he is. I believe he's telling the truth. But this is very important. Let's pay attention to what he's saying, because there may be a plot against America that is connected to the Zionist concept and in this Judaism concept. You guys are going to understand what I'm saying after we play this video, right? So fair use. Let me play this video. It's about 1 minute and 18 seconds. I'm going to, you could hear you could read the subtitles, but however, though, I'm going to stop because what this guy is saying, a lot of Americans, especially a lot of Christian Americans, don't know this, may know this and ignore this, and don't know the significance of what this rabbi is saying. And we need to maybe have a conversation. I don't know if this show is going to last any longer after I play this. I hope, I don't get struck by this, but this is just fair use. I'm not saying I'm endorsing this. I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying that this is what's out there in the modern day printing press called social media, right? And I believe somebody in the media should put a microphone and a camera in front of this rabbi and demand for him to answer these questions. And you guys got to know what question are we talking about after I play the video. Fair use.
An extraordinary information. There will be two big buildings in the land of Edom, which today we relate the word Edom.
So let me give you the backdrop. He's saying that he was having a conversation with a famous rabbi in Israel, right? And let me put it at the beginning. And he was saying that there's going to be these two buildings in the land of Edom, which they identify as America. I didn't know this I found this out about maybe 10, 12 years ago, which I was like, this is interesting. But now Americans should be concerned about this. Fair use.
You will find there an extraordinary information. There will be two big buildings in the land of Edom, which today we relate the word Edom to America. And those are...
So you heard what he said? Today we relate the word Edom to America. Right? This is what he said. Pay attention.
The word Edom to America. And those are the biggest, the tallest buildings in the world. And they will be brought down completely. And that will be the sign of the beginning of tremendous wars that will end only in the coming of the Mashiach. 1 week before, one of the great rabbis in Israel, a Hasidic rabbi, he came with some people, some of his disciples in the car, and they were coming towards the evening. He didn't want to lose the time of mincha, the prayer of the afternoon. He said, please, can you stop right here? I want to daven, I want to pray mincha here. They prayed mincha with minyan in front of everybody passing in Manhattan, where? Right there, near the World Center. After he finished the davening, the prayer, he said, say bye-bye to those buildings because you are not going to see them no more. Say bye-bye.
Say bye-bye to those buildings. You're not going to see them no more. Why is the media? I don't know if the media know this, because sometimes what happens is that social media news travel much faster than the mainstream media, corporate media catches up to it, right? And I found this out, and I remember this during the time of COVID, when there was a lot of information that was coming from the ground, from the doctors and the nurses, what's going on in these hospitals and how many people are dying, and all this controversial issues that the media were first denying, but then they had no choice to admit that, yes, there's some side effects with this thing. Yes, there's some issues with this thing. And a lot of it came from boots on the ground, so to speak. So the question is, why there's not boots on the ground in front of this rabbi and say, which rabbi told you that these buildings are going to go down, right? Why is the media not addressing this? And I'm not one of these guys that believe every conspiracy theory, right? I'm not one of these guys that just accept anything that Alex Jones says. And shout out to Alex Jones. He's been doing, his best and so forth, so on. But he's been wrong on certain things, but he's been right about a lot of things. So the question is, even Alex Jones, I think he is famous for predicting the 9/11, or saying that there was some reports he was receiving that there's going to be planes, struck into crash into buildings, and weeks later it happened. Right? We need to ask Alex Jones how he got this information, right? And we also have to ask this rabbi how he got this information. Fair use.
To those buildings because you are not going to see them no more.
It's common knowledge Israeli Mossad and the CIA are behind the 9/11 terror attacks. Francesco Cossiga, president of Italy.
So even the president of Italy said that it is quite evident that the CIA was behind the 9/11. Why is the mainstream media not having a mic in front of this guy's face and a camera and say, sir, where you got this information from? Right? So we need to go to, go much deeper into the rabbit hole, as they say, right? And why it is important, because, if you go to, and I want to go back to the conversation about, okay, if Jewish people, and think about it, Jewish people believe that America is Edom. And this is funny because when I was coming up in the Hebrew Israelite community, that was a major thing. White people are Edomites, right? Yeah, that's not true. The Edomites got destroyed years ago. That they don't exist anymore. You don't know what you're talking about. Yada yada yada. But why was not that same energy? Because, truth be told, I don't know if it's true. There's a possibility that the Hebrew Israelites could have gotten that information from the Jewish community, right? We all know, well, at least I do. I don't know if the rest of you guys do, that many, the Hebrew Israelite community came out of the Abba Bibbins he was a African-American fellow that joined the Commandment Keepers, and they were part of the Black Judaism community, right? Black Jewish community. And many of them believed that they were coming back to their tradition, or many of them, grew up with that tradition, because many of the folks came from Africa that were, keeping the tradition of the Igbos and the Palashan Jews in Africa and others. So African American began to experiment and say, okay, we may be the Jews as well. And then they started their own thing. So they could have come across this information that America, or the white race, as quote unquote, is the descendants of Edom. But so I don't know that, right? I don't know where that came from. But obviously, if at that time it was in the church was established, I think, in 1969, between 71 and 69. And at that time, they just really, a few years prior to that, they just killed Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. So there was a very revolution-ish type of spirit within America at that time, that obviously if the black people are the Jews, who are the moral enemies in the Bible of the Jews? Adumia, right? Was always is understood that they were the enemy. So they could have come to that conclusion on their own. I don't know how they came across that. I never asked them, but more evidence. And let's go into this article, right? This is a Jewish article. This is Obadiah's warning to the West. This is by Rabbi Eli Michel, right? 2023, right? And let me read as follows. It says, in Jewish tradition, the term Edom is broadly used to refer to the Roman Empire, the European powers that inherited its legacy, and the nations of the West that are the spiritual descendants of Rome. Meaning, within Judaism, they understand that the Europeans are the descendants of Rome. In other words, the book of Obadiah prophesies about Edom is actually a warning to the Western nation of our time, the United States. Why is nobody talking about this? Why is nobody saying, hey, we have a problem with this, that we have a foreign nation that within their religious and Zionist type of belief, they believe that America is the descendants of Edom. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with them or disagree. I believe that there's some term to that. I believe that white people in America is a mixture of, yes, Idumea, but also Japhetic people. Because when you look into the book of Jasher, Edom kind of and Japhet kind of blended in together and kind of started, they became one nation. So I do believe that there's a mixture of Japhetic and Idumeans within the European race. Why is the communities not talking about this, right? And how is this going to affect us, right? How is this going to affect us? Last week, I threw myself out the window and I posted a video, 5 minutes, 46 seconds long. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But when I first heard this, this going back maybe going on 2-3 months now, AI now is able to take, German language or Spanish or Russian and translate it in English so we can understand it. And what I'm hearing is shocking in regards of what Hitler was saying. Because when you see Hitler, right, you see him just speaking German, passionately, right? And he's speaking with all these passion, and you think he's always talking about these evil Jews and blacks and inferior races need to be wiped out of the face of the earth. That's not what he was saying. As a matter of fact, what I'm hearing and what I'm studying and what I'm looking at, because I don't like to deal with rumors, I like to deal with receipts, is that whole white supremacy nonsense that they've been teaching you about Hitler and the Nazi Party, because the Nazi is an acronym of Nazi is a short term for nationalist, the Germany Nationalist Party. They were nationalists because they felt that Germany should be controlled by Germans, right? German for Germany, American for Americans, Africa for Africans, right? That's how they believe. And so forth, so on. So I want to play this video. Hopefully I don't get, demonetized or strike on this, but this is fair use. This is open information. Let's have a conversation. Fair use.
For this reason, we ask to be spared all sentimental talk. The German nation does not wish its interests to be determined and controlled by any foreign nation. France to the French, England to the English, America to the Americans, and Germany to the Germans. We are resolved to prevent the settlement in our country of a strange people which was capable of snatching for itself all the leading positions in the land, and to oust it. For it is our will to educate our own nation for these leading positions. We have hundreds of thousands of very intelligent children of peasants and of the working classes. We shall have them educated. In fact, we have already begun, and we wish that one day they, and not the representatives of an alien race, may hold the leading positions in the state together with our educated classes. Above all, German culture, as its name alone shows, is German and not Jewish, and therefore its management and care will be entrusted to members of our own nation. And then came the decline of our culture, these mounds of contamination of our entire cultural life, the decomposition of our literature, the poisoning of our theater, of our movie theaters. All the art is now falling for it. Millions of Germans no longer participate any longer. It does not appeal to them anymore. This art was not born from our people. It is foreign to us and will remain foreign. That has nothing to do with the German character and did not come from our soul. It was imposed on our people by a subversive press, which made it acceptable. And parallel to this, already the assault begins against the education of our children's brains. The tearing out all the memories of our German past, the insult to all the great men of our people, the removal of its memory from the hearts and brain out of the German youth.
And this is what even is crazier. You have now Jewish people confirming everything that Hitler said. Let's continue playing this video.
Who knows the first two laws that Hitler implemented? Who knows the first two laws? Before the Nuremberg laws. Before that, we're talking about years before it. Hitler first comes into power. What's the first two laws? Okay, I'll save you the time. Rule number one, no more pornography. No more homosexuality. None of that garbage. Not allowed. Berlin in the 30s, in the 20s, was the Sodom and Gomorrah of the day. Homosexuality, pornography, all the...
And that's exactly what Hitler was complaining about. It's like, hey, all this depravity, and who's bringing this depravity? It was an outside racial group. That's why they became nationalists. Prior to these AI, translation of German or Hitler's speech, I thought all the speech was talking about how much do they feel they're better than everybody in the world, and we need to, wipe out, the entire planet, and only Germans should be winning at the end. They lied to you, man. And it's amazing that this lie like I said, I'm 52 years old. I found out this year that all of that was a lie. All of it. Hitler was not a racist. I'm sorry, he was not a racist. He was a nationalist, and we could argue about that, right? There's some racial undertone within nationalist type of scenario, right? But I believe that countries do have the right to preserve their national origin, right? In Dominican Republic, right? That's my homeland. We are always talking about these gringos are taking over our land. These white people are buying property and they are wiping out the natives, or and so forth. So on. We see in Hawaii, right? Many Hawaiians in South Pacific are saying we cannot afford to live in our own homeland. It's being taken over by other national origins, other people from a different race. So I can understand the whole argument about nationalism. I'm not against a nationalist type of mindset to preserve your own race, to preserve your own culture. They lied to you about Hitler for many years. And it was so easy because we never questioned it. And I'm still doing some research to make sure, like maybe he said something racial over here or so forth, so on, because even in the German trial, they were accusing the Nazi of this. It's like, you guys think you're better than other people, and say, show us where we ever said we were better than other people. They said, yeah, we noticed the difference between races, right? We know the difference between different ethnic groups, and we acknowledge that, but we never said we were better than others. They're lying to you. And because if I'm lying, if I'm correct, this rabbi is also incorrect. Right? So let's continue.
Bestiality, all the garbage of the world, that was the capital of the world. He outlawed it. You're no longer allowed, closed all the bars, all the gay clubs, all the production, which were all run by...
So what's happening now is that you have religious Orthodox Jewish people looking at the history themselves and realize, okay, this was not, victim Jewish people just minding their own business, and the evil Nazi just came out of nowhere and began to kill us for no reason. Rabbis are now confirming, right, that what the issue is that the Jewish population of Germany were not only taken over from an economic perspective, but also diminishing the quality of life, or diminishing the moral compass of the German people. And this rabbi is confirming it, right? Fair use.
You're no longer allowed, closed all the bars, all the gay clubs, all the production, which were all run by Jewish people.
Now, you may be a liberal and you may be okay with it, right? But there's liberals, you guys need to understand that you're sharing this planet with conservative. You got to know how to share. The world is not evolve around you. If you want to continue being gay, that's okay. But if you're forcing that upon people, and I think that's what happened with Germany, that they began to say, this doesn't come from us. This is not our culture. Who bringing these pornography? Who's bringing out these, prostitute rings and all kinds of, they even transgender was going around within Germany and things of that nature, and so forth, so on. I don't have a problem with it if you want to do it in the private of your home. But if you bringing that out into, a society that they decided not to do this themselves, and it's coming from another group, another foreign group, they're going to get pissed off. Anybody will get pissed off. Is what they was trying to do in Germany is what they're trying to do here in America? Let's talk about this. Fair use.
Unfortunately. Second rule, you're not allowed to charge interest.
Uh-oh.
No more interest. Now you would think, why? What does he care about interest? Well, because all the people that had the money, that lent the money out, were Jews. He said no more interest. Why? Because of the high interest that the Jews charged people was so high, it ruined, it destroyed the economy in Germany. They destroyed, just like they destroyed Russia a few years before that through their communism over there. Jews destroyed Russia, not Goyim. Jews destroyed. Communism is by Jews. Well, don't let anybody confuse you. You look at history, Karl Marx, all the other Reshaim, they're all Jews. Wicked, but nonetheless Jews. They destroyed.
And this is the reason why this subject is not a Jewish problem. Because not all Jews are down with this issue, are down with this with this program. Some Jews are saying, wait a minute, we are Orthodox Jewish religious folks. We don't want pornography. We don't want transgender. We don't want the degrading of our society or any society, right? So what was happening is that these were what you call secular Jews, non-religious Jews, liberal Jews, whatever you want to call them, right? So the problem is not these people were Jewish people. The problem is that these non-believing Jews, they don't believe in God. They have their own, and maybe it is a thing of like rebellious because Orthodox Judaism is very strict and precise in their religion. That maybe psychologically some Jewish people just when they become secular, they become far left, like way left. Maybe there's something we have to look into that. But what we're trying to establish here in the show is that this is a subject not of a particular racial group, but a particular lifestyle or a particular, I would say, political or social degradation of society that people are saying, well, we don't want this in our community. And it wasn't because it was Jewish. They could have been Chinese. They could have been Africans. They could have been Arabians. It could have been anybody would have done this. I think Hitler would have been just as pissed. And you have a rabbi here confirming it. Fair use.
Destroyed Russia, and he wrote in chapter 2 of Mein Kampf, they destroyed Russia. Now they're destroying Germany. Go to the store to buy bread. You had to take a whole horse carriage full of money. By the time you arrive at the store, it wasn't enough. Why? Because the inflation rate was so high. The bread became so much more valuable and your money went down. And at that time, the Great Depression was happening around the entire world. Everyone was in a financial collapse. America was a financial collapse. England was a financial collapse. Germany collapsed worse than everybody else. But after he passed this law, within 6 years, Germany became the leading, wealthiest economy in the world. They called it a financial miracle. Why? They were the only ones that were bold enough to stop interest. This is one of the biggest reasons of why he hated Jews. Because they destroyed the economy because of their greed. This is happening again.
So, is he an anti-Semite? Is this Jewish guy an anti-Semite? Or he's just reading history and say, this is what happened? And Zionism is hurting even Jewish people. Zionism is making people hate the Jewish community, right? Now, granted, I don't believe that these people are the true descendants of the biblical Hebrews. This may be clear. I believe we are, but I'm separating that for now. I want to have a discussion about now more than ever, we have a time in history that we could have a conversation about the unnatural, the unfair, the dangerous grip that the Zionism, because the majority of people that are Zionists, they're secular. They're not religious necessarily. They're secular Jews for the most part. A lot of them don't believe in God, but they will say, yeah, we're God-chosen people. How does that even make sense? So the problem is Zionists. And I believe good white people, good Jewish people, good Hispanics, good blacks, good all people have to stand up to the concept or the dangerous concept of Zionists. Netanyahu is going to probably lead us to World War III. Leave it up to him because he thinks that, America should conquer every Arab country. And I think if we start having these conversations now from a perspective of, facts and data, let's throw away the whole thing. And if anybody comes among us like, yeah, Jewish people are eating children and they are drinking blood, that's not going to help. Right? Because that's so extreme, right? Now, could it be some guy doing something weird stuff, some devil worshiper who happened to be Jewish and he's drinking blood? Maybe. But that's not the problem here. The problem is Zionism thinking. And as a Christian, as a Bible believer, how is this affecting us, right? How should this affect us, right? I believe we have to just get out the way. I think, we have to disengage, right? I think Christians have to stop sending money to Israel and this whole concept, like if you bless Israel, you're blessed by God. That's not what the Bible said. God told Abraham, whoever blesses you, I will bless. Whoever would curse you, I will curse. He was talking to Abraham, his descendant, not the state of Israel. That's a secular governmental structure that has nothing to do with Bible prophecy or Bible anything, right? We need to have a real conversation about this. And people want to come in, you're more than welcome, okay? As I said, some of them share the claim that I have studied history for 10 years and are more tolerant of the politics than early Christians, more on the Levant, more than, listen, I agree with you. But at this point, what's more dangerous is not whether these people are the true descendants of the tribes of Israel, which I don't believe that, but let's put that aside for a minute. Regardless whether we don't believe that, some of us, right? Some people may, I don't know, right? The concept of a Zionist is a dangerous concept that's only going to destroy, I believe, the world, may usher in World War III. And shalom, brother Ricky. Shalom, shalom, shalom. If you want to come in, you're more than welcome to come in. I got the link on top. If anybody wants to come in, the link is there. You could come in and share. And maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you disagree. Maybe I got something wrong. Right. But it's very important for us to have these conversations because I wonder, I'm just throwing something on the table. Like I said, I'm throwing myself out the window today. I'm having these conversations that perhaps, in other environments, or in previous environment, in previous time, perhaps it was a scenario that, let me just fix this real quick. We were not have able to have talked about these type of things in the past, right? Maybe these conversations was taboo, but times is revealing all kinds of new norms, right? Time is changing. Now we could talk about this, but I wonder if this is talking about in the book of Thessalonians, the second book of Thessalonians, chapter 2, we could start at verse 1, right? And I want to bring something out here because reading this, it also tells me that these concerns were early concerns, because you may not know this, guys, but if you do a little research, the book of Thessalonians is one of the oldest, of the gospel, of the epistles. What the experts are saying, the epistles were written first. The gospel were written much later, after the apostles began to die. Many of their students and many of their disciples began to write their testimony to preserve the teachings of Christ, because many of the first century apostles of Christ were dying off. So the Gospels came in a little later, before the epistles. And the epistle of Thessalonians is one of the earliest one, according to historians, right? So this goes show that this was something that was a conversation or an argument that existed very early within the first century church, right? So let me read verse 1. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us. So when he says as from us, this shows me that even back then there were false epistles running around. Because if Paul didn't have, if there were not fake epistles running around, and even there's another letter that was discovered years ago, a letter from Peter to James, and I think I went into that one of my previous shows, that Peter were complaining to James. He said, "Listen, make sure that the Gentiles do not come in our churches and manipulate the writings of my teachings." So we see that early on there was an infiltration of the Christian church, and I think this scripture is talking about this, right? It says, "Nor by letter from us, that as that the day of Christ is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first." We're talking about this is 70 AD, when the prophecy that was mentioned in Luke 21 by Christ, it says that when you see Jerusalem compressed with army, flee into the wilderness, because this will be the time that all the prophecies must be fulfilled, right? It says, cometh falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, or that is worship, so that he, as God, sits in the throne in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things. And now ye know what withhold, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity does already works, meaning there's already an infiltration within the Christian church. That's why we should never pay attention to these so-called church fathers. What did the early church fathers? Because we do not know that one of these church fathers are one of these infiltrators. We even go back into the early, even in the book of Acts, I think chapter 6, with one of the Nicholas, the Nicolaitans. He was one of the first deacons appointed in the church. He started going off and started his own crazy doctrinal belief. So we cannot trust early church, so-called early church fathers' writings, because there was already an infiltration of the church during the time of Peter, during the time of Paul. Right? For the mystery of iniquity does already work. Only he who now leadeth will lead until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. Okay? I think Brother Ricky is on the... Brother Ricky, Shalom, Brother Ricky, how we doing? What you got to add to this conversation?
Shalom, Elder, and everybody. It's very interesting. It's a very great topic that you got going on tonight. Because and also I think it's very timely for it as well, for the fact that we got the political thing that's going on with Trump and him trying to stop. He wants things to go back to a conservative platform.
Yeah.
But the people that's in charge, that's even over him, that's over all the earth right now, they want things to go into full debauchery, and it's causing problems.
Yeah.
So to be bringing this out is very timely, and I know I done had different discussions with people, and they done got mad at me because I don't look at Hitler the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
Because my question is this: it's not. I don't care how strong a brother is. I don't care how smart a man is. But ain't not one man could go in front of a group of brothers and say, "Hey, all of y'all come follow me, and we finna go take over some land." That's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Who gave Hitler his power? Who was his father?
Mm-hmm.
His father was a Rothschild. He's a bastard child at that.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is this: people it's a thing in the Bible where it says, "Consider the days of old." Now you could take that one or two ways, because the way the word of God says, "Consider the days of old." If you have a question, you go to your father, he'll take you to the elder, he shall tell thee. But more research we starting to do, we starting to find out some of the ills of some of the people that, who were leaders. So I think it's important that everybody, if you are serious about trying to get into heaven, if you're serious about when that time come and they say, listen, you ain't gonna be able to go to work, you ain't gonna be able to drive your car, you ain't gonna be able to stay in your house unless you get that mark of the beast. This gonna be that test. It's always a warrant, like I said, it's warning before destruction. And I think it's very, like I said, it's timely that people wake up, stop playing around, and start doing research. Because the word of God said, in end times, knowledge shall increase. It's so much knowledge out here. It's to the point where people just rather watch TikTok all day. And that's sad. So I think, I want to say thank you for even looking this up and bringing this to the forefront, because most people wouldn't find this. You know, only a certain
Yeah.
amount of handful of people that saw this, they would have shared it with a few people. Most of them would not have looked at it, nor would they have thought about the in-depthness of what that man is saying. You know, and I'll just leave it at that.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. And thank you, brother. And I think brother Now Music, he was looking, I don't know if he was looking for the link. I put the link. The link is in the description below, but I also posted for you guys to come in if you guys want to come in, if that's what you was asking Now Music. But absolutely, man, because just 10 years ago, this would have been something that YouTube would have kicked me out. And it may still happen. But now what I think it's all over the place. And it's like the printing press. And when it was discovered that prior to that, people had to handwrite, a book or the Bible. The printing press could not have been controlled. It's the same thing with social media today. It's just becoming out of control that they cannot no longer deny it. They could ignore it, but they could no longer deny it that history, the way we know it, is a lie. When you look at the Reconstruction era, what does that Reconstruction era means? They're telling you they're reconstructing everything, history, they're reconstructing society. So a lot of what was going on prior to the Civil War and post-Civil War, in regards to the books. Look at the history books going back then at 1800, 1700 versus the history books now. They're lying to you. And this is the biggest, I guess, obstacle to deal with the common Joe, the common everybody, your average person who is just minding his business, just wants to go to work. Now more than ever, if you could present a fact based information like, Hitler was not a racist the way we think he was. Yes, he was. Okay, prove it. Well, they won't be able to prove it. And I'm still doing research to make sure. I'm not saying that he didn't have any racial groups or what have you, but I'm doing some research. I'm trying to get some of his books to see, because I never heard anything from his mouth directly that I could understand, that I could say, yeah, that's racist. Yes, that's a problem. Yes, we need to talk about this, so forth, so on. I think we got another guest, brother. I think I hear myself. Shalom, brother. How we doing?
Shalom, brother. How we doing?
Yeah, shalom.
Shalom, brother. How we doing? So what you got to add to this conversation? And if you could maybe turn up the back,
and if you could maybe turn up the back, the baby.
Yeah, because I hear myself.
Yeah, because I hear myself.
There we go.
Okay, very good.
Should be good now.
All right. So what you got to add to this conversation?
Okay, very good. All right. So what you got to add to this conversation?
So just as far as there's a good, I would give them anywhere from 10 to 5% of so-called Ashkenazi Jews that can have a direct line back to the ancient Holy Land and connect to the ancient peoples.
Yeah.
If you study research papers like the Erfurt grave, there was some detached teeth. And the rabbis, they had to have a rabbinical council for them to because it's considered taboo to mess with anything, dead. It's considered, dirty, unclean. So they said because these teeth are detached from the skeletons, you can do analysis within the bone marrow to see what these, what I call haplogroups are. And these do, some of these, I'm not saying many, I had this discussion with you too before, that the initial, the people that gave them, that codified them, they do have, it's undeniable, a connection to the ancient Holy Land of Israel. I'm not saying the vast majority, I'm saying the small percentage. When we look at Jewish people historically, the Israelites were 2% of the world's population. It was not some big, massive thing. And as far as when you go to other groups like the Mizrahi or the Mizrahim, which are the Egyptian Jews, it gets much higher, those frequencies. When you go amongst the Maghribin, which are like the Moroccan, the North African Jews, it gets much higher. And then also with the Hispanic, the Sephardic Jews, it gets much higher, the percentages.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm one of the rare people, undeniably, like even on Mac News 144, you go on there right now, I'm showing you a connection with Abel Beth Makkah at that stratus layer, the stratigraphic layer, which is the Iron Age period. They found a vase, and this vase has a Hebrew inscription, Ben Nayo, which means property of Benaniah. And that this, the way that it ends, the suffix of it ends with a Hebrew Yah on it. Which it clearly tells us this was an Israelite's possession. And then we find the things on that layer, and we see the culture, the material culture, the typology. Because just like with a car, you could see the differences in cars in the way that they look. Like a Hyundai from 1990, when you look at a Hyundai from 2001 up, it has a much more modern look to it. So with the writing, with the Paleo Hebrew and the evolution of it, we can tell when we find, little shards of what's it called? Pottery. And if it has writing on it, and then we find a bone next to it, and we do this test, you know what I mean? So the main point that go ahead.
I am not, and I still hear myself. I don't know if it's coming from you. But maybe you could put some headset. Maybe that would stop it. But
I think it is that I have a headset. I think I got to take the headset off. Actually.
Okay. I think I could hear. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Outstanding. So, if you look at, for instance, the Shemitic DNA, is a DNA that many non-Israelite people had in first century Judea. You had the Edomians, they were Shemitic. You had the Moabites, they were a close neighbor. The Amorabites, they was also close to the Hebrews. So Shemitic DNA, and if you look at the Roman Empire, if you're going to go with the narrative that Rome is Edom, right? And within the Jewish community, they believe this, right? Now, I believe that not all white people are Edom. I believe there's a mixture of Japhet as well in that population. But if there is a mixture, like in the book of Jasher, that Edom and the Greeks fought, or the Romans fought, and then eventually they kind of like cut a deal and became like kind of one nation, you will see Shemitic DNA within even the Roman Empire. So, right? So the question is not whether they are legitimate, have some Shemitic DNA, because that could be true. But the question is, and the much larger question is, 2025, AI became a thing, maybe 3 years ago. Now we could translate Hitler's conversation. Now we have access to history books much more than ever before. I always thought that Hitler was a racist, and he's hated everybody except Germans. Now I'm like being blown away, regardless whether there is some Semitic DNA within the Jewish German population in 1940s and 1930s. The question is, was it right for them to do what they did, in regards of, bringing pornography to Germany, this is not a theory anymore, right? And a lot of them is coming from secular Jews, not necessarily religious Jews, right? Because a lot of the Orthodox Jewish community were actually against the state of Israel in the 40s and the 30s, because in their belief, they said that we are not allowed to set up a state or a country until the Messiah gets here, right? So there was against, so a lot of the push came from non-religious Jewish people, right? It came from people that don't believe in God, they're kind of secular, but they're more like nationalists, right? We're nationally Jewish. We a separate group, and that's fine for them to believe that. But the question is, they are religious. I don't know if you are religious. I don't know if you believe in God or not, and so on. I assume you do, correct? Okay. Regardless where you have people that are using the Jewish identity to say, don't come against me because I want to open this pornography store or I want to open the strip club. If you attack me, you're anti-Semitic. Oh, by the way, I don't believe in God, but we deserve our own land because it was promised to us. I think that's what the conversation we need to have, because let's just say they are the chosen people. Let's just say that. I don't believe that, but let's just say they are, right? Is what they did to Germany, is that okay then? You get what I'm saying? So I think the conversation of their legitimacy of their claim always become like a buffer. And I'm not saying you're doing that, but I'm saying it all becomes like what I read somewhere that there's some DNA that some of them could be are. Okay, so that makes it okay for them to be bombing the Palestinians, did what they were doing in Germany. You get what I'm saying? So that's the conversation. And a lot of these issues are coming from secular Jews, non-religious Jews. What's the
Christ was from the Galilee.
Right.
The Galilee is in northern Israel. They actually have, I don't know if you're familiar with Bethlehem of the Galilee. There's 2 Bethlehems.
Yeah.
There's another Bethlehem in northern Israel, not just southern Israel.
And
so when you read the text and you process that, Jesus came from Bethlehem, it could maybe change things up. When Christ went into Jerusalem, he knew he was going to get killed.
Yeah,
those were the ops. You got people, 2 different gangs of the same people.
Yeah.
One over here, but genetically they're similar, but they fight for different ideologies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When Christ went into the Galilee, he was going into the opposition's area.
Yeah.
Those were Jews, like they say, the Jews crucified him. I'm not saying all of them was real or fake, but at that time they were in the land. They were amongst the prophets. They knew more than we know now. You know what I mean? They wasn't playing a guessing game back then. They was in the time of whatever it is. And I'm not trying to legitimize or whatever. I'm just saying there was a small percent, anywhere from 10 to 5%. That rules out the vast majority of Ashkenazis. You know what I mean? I would say maybe they mix somewhere in, but a lot of them cannot draw that straight line from father to son, from like from father to son like that. And when if you ever Googled Adolf Hitler was Jewish on his father's line, he actually can draw a line back to the ancient Natufians from Israel, one of the oldest cultures there. Adolf Hitler. So some people say he possibly had a Jewish forefather somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that could be true. But what I'm trying to convey here, because it right?
I just wanted to point out just the fact that he was going against other ones. So that's just the point that I'm saying. We can't just paint a whole swath of people and say, oh, Puerto Ricans sell cocaine. You know what I mean? You can't do that.
Right. And I think that is the problem when we're having these conversations, because now everybody is just saying all Jewish people are bad, right? And then you have the far extreme. They're eating babies, bro. They're sucking blood. And I think that is, now I have read some stuff that, I think there was a cult group in about 200-300 years ago, the Franks. They were into a lot of blood sacrifice and things of that nature, but they were not part of the entire Jewish community, right? And I think what happened is that it's like one person does something in the Black community or in the Hispanic community, and everybody gets blamed for it, right? It's the same thing going on within the Jewish community, and I think that's not helpful, because we're not pinpointing the problem. And I believe the problem is secular Jews Zionism, using religion, using the victimization of Jews that they had pushed to get away with their gangster mentality, their gangster behavior. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, we could accept that there are Mexican gangs, there are Russian gangs, the Russian mafia, the Mexican mafia, but is there a Jewish mafia? Yeah, there could be a Jewish mafia. And those are the people we have to pinpoint, that all of us good Jewish people, good Hispanic, good blacks, good white have to come together and say, you know what? These are the problem. Let's not say the Jewish community. Let's say the Zionist, secular Zionist gangsters. They are using the name of Israel and Jewish as a defense to get away with their crime. What say you? I think you either mute your phone. I think we can't hear you. You mute your phone.
You hear me?
Perfectly. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just saying that the Russian mafia, they call it the Red Mafia, is actually all Jewish. People don't acknowledge that.
Right.
And
Right.
I just wanted to make another point. The Romans were killing the Christians, and then they took on the Christian moniker. They took on that name.
Right.
So we have to understand that in history, people persecute, and they like, even like Saul. Saul killed other Christians, and he was a Christian, and then he became. So it's like, we gotta understand. Even with some people say the Israelites were the Canaanites.
Right.
They came in, and these proto-Israelites, which were Canaanites, came in and killed off all the other Canaanites.
Right.
So it's
Right.
like
Right.
you have waves of younger groups of people coming in.
You coming a little muffled. I don't know. It's
okay. Sorry, I think I was covering it with my finger.
Okay.
So you have younger groups of people, even amongst the Native Americans. The younger people will rise up and kill off they feel for us to have change, we got to kill off the old guard. We got to kill off the. So like that also is something that occurs, is younger waves of the same people come in and take out the older guard and say, enough of this. You know, you're doing idolatry. You're doing this. We're not with that. God is with us. We're going to wipe you out.
Right, right, right. So that's what needs to happen. I think good Jewish people have to stand up to the Jewish mafia that are using the term Jewish and Israel and Judean and you know as a defense, which is like is a brilliant defense. You know, it's because anytime you have a conversation, I'm pretty sure somebody's going to put in their mark in their writings, you're anti-Semite because you're even having this conversation. But this bad Zionists are hurting good Jewish people. They are just minding their own business, not doing anything, right? And just following their religion and so forth, so on. Yeah, I mean, now, you know, we could have a conversation. I may disagree in regards of they don't accept Christ and yada, yada, yeah, but that's a different conversation. We're talking about we have to get rid of the bad element of our community. And that's in every community. Latinos, the black, the whites have to get rid of their, you know, white people. When if you know a racist person who is evil and racist and hate other people, you got to say something, right? Latinos, if you're running around with, you know somebody who's running on selling drugs and doing bad things, you got to say, listen, I'm not down with this. You don't represent me. You don't represent the Latino community. You don't represent the black community. You don't represent our community. We have to start. Us good people have to talk about and clean our own house. I'm reading some paper. I think in the Dominican Republic, like 87,000 people, Dominicans got diagnosed this year from HIV, and I think 70% of them were women. And why is that? Whoreism is rampant in the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
Us good Dominicans have to talk about that and say we have to stop that nonsense and clean house.
There's another component to that too. There's another component to this HIV thing. A lot of people don't know it. But if anybody go into Google and type in Bayer medicine, Bayer, you will see, I think about 15 years ago, they got sued because Bayer was found to have the HIV virus in it. So people that was buying it off the shelf was catching it from that. So people fail to realize that we are at a battle of a game, because they look at it like this. If we post this disease that we created as a sexual disease, but we know we made it in a lab and we put it in oranges and we put it in medicines, and then people eat it, they're gonna blame each other for getting whatever it's got.
Right, you cheated on me or something. So, but let me just say this. But let me just say, prostitution is rampant in the Dominican Republic. I'm not saying more than other countries. You go to Thailand, there's rampant there. You go to different parts of the world, and prostitution is all over the place. But what I'm saying is that, you know, we have to have a conversation about focusing on our community. And I think Jewish people need to have this conversation. So listen, bad Jewish people are ruining it for all the other good Jewish people that are just living their life and so forth, so on. And this is not about the belief whether you're a Jew or not. Let's put that aside for now. These people are criminal mafia element that in the same way as the Russian people have to get rid of the Russian mafia, right? The Mexican people, MS-13, they got to get rid of the Salvadoran mafia and all. They got to get rid of these communities, right? I think it was a good thing in Salvador that they just locked up all the gang members and put them in jail, right? And so forth, so on, and that's the conversation that now more than ever, we could really have a conversation about this whole Jewish, problem in regards of, Jewish people taking over the world, blah, blah, blah. It's not Jewish people. It's the Zionists that are criminal-minded people that are running around using the name Israel as a defense to get away with their crime. And I think now is the time to have this conversation because now we have data now. Now, before I would not even know where to start to translate one of Hitler's writings or sayings, right? They could have told us anything. Right? And said, no, yeah, he's saying that he hates Dominicans and he hates blacks and he thinks that, Germans are superior to everybody. Okay, I will have to believe that. But now information is increasing. Information is accessible. Like I said, it's like the virtual printing press. It's out of control. You can't stop it. Right? And we have to be, now is the time, is not to deal with conspiracy theory, but to gather as much factual information and bring the receipts. It's no longer conspiracy, right? Now, once you show the data, we could have a real conversation. Because I truly believe that this crazy lunatic Netanyahu is going to lead America into World War III. If no one has this real conversation, and if we don't have a conversation, and we continue the current as isn't going now, our children are going to be going to war and so forth. They're already talking about drafting everybody who's 18 to 27 and things of that nature. We have to have a conversation, and I believe that we need to create a scenario that we are immune for the effects of these things, and the only way we could be immune is we have to get out. We have to create our own community. We have to create our own wolf pack to defend ourselves from these these warmongers that, all he wants to do is go to war. That's the solution for everything and so forth, so on. So it's a conversation we need to have. And I thought because it was such a taboo conversation 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? And now people are saying, yeah, there is some, issues with Jewish people taking over stuff, and some of them, not all. There is some issues with they're controlling the narrative in Hollywood or in politics. Every elected official has a AIPAC handler or person. Tucker Carlson interviewed elected official. He was like, yeah, I've been in politics for a long time, and every politician has a Jewish representative to tell them what what they need to say or do or what law they need to pass. And that's a foreign country. And I think now if we intelligently have a conversation about it, it will no longer be a taboo. Oh, you guys are a bunch of haters, hate mongers, anti-Semite, right? This is also encourage me and also encourage others to say, you know what, let's challenge the status quo, right? We accept, right, the status quo in regards of history. We have to start reading for ourselves. And there should be a blueprint or a marker how we operate. If you say something, show me the receipts. If you're claiming something, show me the receipts. Don't ever accept anything to just be reliant. Because I thought, Hitler was just a racist. I accepted it because that's what I heard. I didn't know that he shook the hand of Jesse Owens. I didn't know that. And congratulated. Yep. I didn't know that Jesse Owens, when he wrote a book, he said, yeah, no, the Germans would treat me fairly. Matter of fact, a lot of great minds in America that were, boxers or people that were, entertainers or black, people that were, activists and things of that nature, and got a little. There was a lot of friction. A lot of them went to Germany and Europe, and they accepted them. Right? So this attitude that we think that all white people are racist and that's across the board, and we have to examine that. But also white people, this is a message to you white people, you have to rule out and point out and not make it okay for them to be comfortable in your space talking about racist crap against other people in your presence, and you say, oh, that's just my uncle, he's just a little racist. No, you have to say that's wrong. Right? So I think this is a conversation we need to have. Let's have Jewish people call in. Let's have a conversation. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Right? Do you feel that every Jewish person is honorable? There's no Jewish people that are taking advantage of the term anti-Semitic, taking the concept that Jewish people are always the victim and never the victimizers? Are they? Is there a Jewish mafia? Let's talk about it. Right, and these are the conversations I want to, have, because like I'm into the point like I'm no longer going to hold back in what I feel needs to be discussed, because if not now, when, and not us, who, right, and so forth, so on. So brother, I think your is now music, right? What's your Hebrew name, brother? Brother Al. So I see you got some Hebrew artwork, and I see the tears. So
pray right there. Pray.
Okay, that's a pleasure. That's a pleasure. Do you have a clothing line? I see you. That's what you're working on.
Clothes.
Okay.
Different.
Outstanding. That's beautiful. Send me your link. I would like to promote you, man. We have to start promoting each other. That's beautiful, brother. So definitely send me your link. I want to start promoting you. Maybe buy some of your stuff.
You remember I went to the church with my twin brother, right?
Yeah. I remember you. Yeah. A long time ago. Yeah. So I'm glad you're doing well, brother.
Thank you, my brother. I just wanted to make one quick point.
Yeah.
That sometimes they set up stumbling blocks for us. Just like with crack and heroin and things like that. And then it backfires on them. It ends up in their community. And now it's an epidemic. Now it's opioid epidemic and stuff. And there was one thing, because like when I talk about genetics, I've been studying this for over 10 years. I did with Brother Ngozi. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's very famous. One of the smartest people, if not the smartest person I know on a first-hand basis. And there was a back in early England, it was Norwich, England. And if you look up even like Lincoln, England, the Pilgrims, the anti-Semitic massacres in the early like 1400s, and even before that, I believe, they were, a lot of Spanish Jews and even European, they were going there and they were helping build up the country. They were paying for castles, paying for different, storages for grain, and because these people had knowledge, they knew how to, and community and rules and guidelines to keep them and hold them accountable. So this, they would go there, they would lend money to the king and have their trading networks from the Silk Road to West Africa with the Luango Jews and all of that. Like, we had communities all over.
Yeah, we had Spain was a community
Spain, Alhambra, deep history we have. Yeah. So there was an anti-Semitic massacre, and they threw a bunch of bodies, ancient European Jews that were in Europe, into a well. It's called The Bodies in the Well, Norwich Massacre, Chapel Hill, Norwich. So they got these bodies out. And they said, there's a bone in the ear. It's called the petrous bone. It's considered the hardest bone of the human body. They're able to extract, just like the teeth and certain things, get the marrow, and they're able to sequence it. And when they did it, again, just like with the one in Erfurt, there is a connection. Not all, but some of them had a connection straight back to ancient Israel. Yeah. And the reason that I bring this up, why did they do that? Because they didn't want to pay back the debts that they owed to these people. So instead of paying them back the money, they just killed them. Yeah. At this point, the original is very rare to find, because these people have been massacred upon massacred from Egypt, ancient here from here to there. It's been pretty much it's like an endangered species.
Yeah.
Some of these lines, some of
Yeah.
them are more preserved.
Yeah.
So like I believe more in a tribal confederation, different, people came together and they made this covenant and they created these different tribes
Yeah.
and the banners that they carry. So just my point being is some of the only things, the early Jews could do was money lending because they didn't want to do it because they felt it was dirty. I got to go chase you to get my money. I got to hound you. I got to go threaten you. You're going to pay me this or that. So they didn't want to do it. That ended up backfiring in Germany. And and again, we're not saying everybody, there's wicked people of all types.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the end, it's not going to be we all think alike and we look alike. It's going to probably be we all think alike and we look different. That makes more sense. You know what I mean? And the spirit of Christ is the most important thing. Not about your DNA, not about your skin color. Don't worship the flesh. Like the young brother Bonwayasak, like he brought out years ago. He said, don't be caught up in the idolatry of black and this and that, because that's worship of the flesh.
Yeah,
Same thing with the blood.
Yeah. Go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Same thing with the blood. Look, at the end of the day, if you had a business and you had your son and your son refused to work in the business, and you were on your dying bed and your son didn't visit you, and you had a loyal employee that wasn't your son, and he honored you, he never stole from you, he was there on your deathbed feeding you, cleaning you, everything, loyal to you, who you gonna leave your house and your business to? If you're a good man, you're gonna leave it to the one that really earned it. I understand that's your son, whatever, but if your son didn't honor you, so the Most High, he loves us more than we love our own children. And the Most High loves those that honor the way he wants to be honored.
Yeah.
Not because you're of a bloodline or because I got a haplogroup that's mad rare and could go back to the Holy Land. That's not going to save me. Only through the worship and the obedience and being a righteous person in my spirit and in my character, that's what's going to save me at the end of the day. And we all have to save ourselves. Nobody can save you. And if we're still using the same old phone from 1995 and you didn't upgrade your phone to the latest phone, you're going to be left behind. So if you're stuck in a 1969 doctrine, and like the brother said earlier, the brother Rick, he said, knowledge will increase and fold in these days. So you could wake up tomorrow and they could come out with something that is real innovative and could change your way of thinking. I'm not saying abandon the Most High. I'm just saying fortify yourself, test all things, prove all things, and don't take anybody's word for it. If somebody's telling you, don't read the Bible for yourself, come to me and I'll interpret it for you. I'll tell you the way to read it. That's not a real leader in my book. You should let the Spirit speak to you when you're reading the scriptures. And then if you have questions, then go to somebody and say, oh, how do you feel about this? And chances are your so-called elder, he's not even going to be able to keep up with you. You know what I mean? If you're really in the spirit.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. That's why it's all about Christ. That's why in Galatians chapter 3, verse 29, it says, and if ye be Christ, then are ye Abraham's seed and heir according to the promise. So the adoption has to come back through Christ. Has to come through Christ, and that could be the glue that keeps us all together. And that's why I believe that yes, the Israelite awareness, is the prophecy of the tribes reuniting is going to happen. We don't have to do anything. That's God's problem. Right? He's going to do that. We have to just follow his son, his teaching, and through his teaching is where we get to the Father. And he's going to sort all this out and so forth, so on. But the conversation about cleaning the backyard, right? of our communities, right? Because we have to clean up the backyard within the Hebrew Israelite community. I think that you're right. They're too much focusing on, skin color, and you're not the bloodline, and you're not part of the 12 tribe chart, and the 12 tribe chart is exact. You cannot be challenged in any way. That becomes an idol, right? Because, the 12 chart is a good, I think, starter. I think it has to be expand. I think that there is a good effort, but it should not be a situation that we could now it's an absolute, this is what it is. You this tribe because this is what our interpretation of this particular scripture and things of that nature. The evidence that is above all is the prophecy, right? Where the Jews and the Israelites are going to be in the last day. They said we're going to be in the ghettos, in the slum. Our wives are not going to respect us. Our children are not going to love us. There's going to be our eye will be evil towards our brothers, and so forth, so on. That's us. That's the Black and Latino community. So you don't need to tell me what tribe I'm from. I just got to read that and say, yeah, that's us. That's us. We, now we can go into the details and who, what tribe you're from, and so forth, so on, right? Because from my family tree, I think I either may be a Simeon or a Levi, because the Rodriguez is a Sephardic Jewish name that in the family crest was a stronghold, like a castle, and that could be of the tribe of Simeon, because that was a symbol of the tribe of Simeon, right? That could be, right? But also, there could be some Levites in my family as well, within my research and so forth. So that's why every person should research their family name, their family ancestry, and where they came from and things like that. You may surprise, you may be a Jew, but that is not salvation, right? That's not salvation, right? It's fun to know that your history, especially for people that we lost our heritage, we lost who we are. It's great to find out, hey, we may be of the sons and daughters of Jacob. Great. But that's not salvation. It's through Christ. It's through accepting Christ as your Lord and Savior and obeying those commandments of God. Right? That's what makes you holy. That's what makes you set apart, as the scripture says. Absolutely. But I just wanted to have this conversation because it's just weird how, I'm a little older than you guys. So I remember that. I remember when even Michael Jackson, remember that song? What's that song? They don't wanna.
Yeah, Jew was few or something like that.
Yeah.
They don't really care about us.
They don't really care.
Yeah.
That's right. Remember that? They don't really, and he said something that don't kike me, Jew me. He got blowback from that. He had to apologize. So it was a situation when I was coming up. You couldn't say anything bad about any Jew anywhere, any part of the world, or your face will be plastered in mainstream media. This guy's an anti-Semite. You have to apologize. And I got to give credit where credit is due. The guy who really kind of broke the door down was Mr. Ye, Kanye West. He was like, I don't care. Jews are controlling Hollywood. We have to talk about this, yada, 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 and so forth, so on. And, because he was rich enough and powerful enough that he could sustain that. Yeah, he lost some contracts and here or there, but he didn't care. Right? So I got to give props to Mr. Ye, because he was able to kind of, make it a little normal to have these discussions. Like I said, I don't believe every Jewish person is in on it. I don't believe every Jewish person is a Zionist. I don't believe every Jewish person is running around trying to suck the blood of every single nation they live in. But there is a Jewish mafia that we have to talk about that is hurting America scenario. How is it can a rabbi talks about that a rabbi came from Israel and he said these 2 buildings are going to get destroyed? And how do you know that? Why is there not a camera in front of his face saying, hey, sir, how do you know there was this 9/11 thing? How do you prior to this situation? So all these, I'm just happy now we could have these conversations now and so forth, so on. And brother Juan, I think you froze. I think that you probably come back. So brother Ricky, what you got to add? I know you look like you working there. What you building there in your garage, brother? You look like you building something.
Oh no, not yet. But what I do got is this. I've been reading the volumes of the history of the Jews.
Okay.
And today it's very interesting that we're having this topic. It was talking about how the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom split during the time when Jeroboam became leader, and the truth behind I think it was some guy named like Sanakan. I can't really pronounce his name,
Okay.
but he didn't like Solomon. And so Solomon was old at this time and getting ready to, I guess, die out. But because Solomon had created so much peace, that made the nation weak because we had got to a point we weren't used to fighting no more. So, but at the same time, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it showed how the guy Sanak, whatever his name was, he used Jeroboam. Jeroboam already had an alternative motive against Solomon, but at the same time, Jeroboam thought he could use Synopkis or whatever the man's name, I'm saying it wrong, to go against his own people. So what ended up taking place was it's talked about how the northern kingdom already had an issue with the southern kingdom because we was in charge. So the reason I'm bringing that up is that when we were saying we need to get our house together, we as a people need to realize we all we got. We got to stop this mess where we think that Smo Joe over there got our best interest because he's saying something that sounds good to us. The Bible talk about getting our ears tickled. I mean, it's to a point now you should know that Satan got his tongue all in your ear. You should be to a point where you say, I'm tired of this mess. So I'm saying is for the brothers and the sisters that have the mindset, who have the mental, the spiritual, and the emotional maturity and the prowess to do this, we need to galvanize our forces and put our minds together. And we need to make sure that when we create this bond, it can't be broken. We can't allow this person and that person. Now, if you're a person even if you call yourself, one of us, if you ain't on board with what we got going on, we can't let you in this thing. Because it's gonna get to a point where we don't need to be dealing with no Judas. We ain't gonna sit up there and be friends with no Judas and be like, well, because we ain't big brother Yasha. I don't got the patience like him. Because I'm gonna be like, hey, we need to remove this brother, or I drag him out my doggone self.
And that's always been the thing within our community, Judas within our community. And it's hard to point them out right away, right? Because a lot of them, they come in very with some, loving words and and I don't, sometimes Judas don't start as Judas, right? They start as your greatest, cheerleader, right? But then, Satan gets in them, offense happen, and then they become a Judas. So you are right. It is almost, it is concerning. We have to create protocols to make sure that that doesn't happen. We're going to be having a meeting, not this weekend, next weekend, with the Bengal and Gasway just to catch up. Just, maybe we're going to meet up and sometimes in March. But you're right. Right now we're small. It's easier to kind of, get to know each other, in a more quality way. But once we get, much larger and there's more brothers coming in, you're right. There's going to be some offense. And that is scary, man. But we have to just, put protocols to try to, defend ourselves from that, but it's going to happen. You're right. And we have to pray every day to continue putting that hedge over us to protect us. And it is a scary thing and it is a concern. And these are things that eventually we have to talk about because they're going to come in. And like I said, a lot of them don't come in as Judas, but they end up Judas because of defenses, right? So absolutely. Great point, brother. Great point. Any last words before we end the show?
No, all I gotta say is, thank you for bringing this topic to the light, to the forefront, and we'll be on this Saturday.
All right, definitely. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother Ricky. That's brother Ricky. Oh, praises, he's doing that work. Appreciate it, brother Ricky, all the work that you do. So yeah, folks, if you're gonna have a conversation about this, let's focus first, get receipts first. Do not say this is, all Jewish people believe this and all Jewish people are the problem, because I don't believe that all Jewish people are the problem. I got Jewish friends And they agree with me that there's a problem with the Zionist thinking of like, the greater Israel concept. And, this is our land because it was given by God. That's a dangerous thing. When you mix religion with politics, it's a dangerous thing. So this is not an issue about racial or ethnic group. This is about an outlook that is hurting us, and we have to have a conversation because, if we allow Netanyahu to get his way, we us Americans will be fighting his wars for the next 30, 40 years. All the lives are going to be destroyed. So until the next time, may the Most High keep you, watch you. Shalom. I'll be back this Saturday with a Shabbat lesson. May the Most High keep you and watch you, and peace.